Oh my gosh, it says we're live, Mike.
I
Man,
don't,
you know,
I don't
are
feel
you?
live.
You look live.
Do I?
You do.
Okay.
You do. You know, it's funny. I was just saying to Mike, hey, I can't find you on LinkedIn because I keep typing Mike, but there he's Michael. Does that make you feel more professional to be Michael?
Actually, no. When I hear that, I think my grandma's about to hit me. hmm
Did that happen a lot? Do you need to process that out loud?
So I spent every summer when I was a kid in McAlester, Oklahoma, vacation Bible school 5 days a week, church all day Sunday, and very strict grandparents. All of which had the exact opposite of the intended outcome. So there's that.
Speaking of family, yesterday was Veterans Day. Did you have families who served?
Yes, as a matter of fact, and kind of pretty much everybody except me. My brother was in West Germany pointing howitzers at the Soviet Union. My uncle was in Vietnam. My dad went to Korea, and my grandfather was a pilot in World War II. And interestingly, when my grandfather got back from service, he went into law enforcement, and he ended up pioneering aerial traffic surveillance. So my grandfather, no kidding, was the very first bear in the air. So back to veterans. Yeah, I didn't serve, something that I regret to this day. But CI emphasizes hiring veterans, and that's how I serve.
We do. In fact, we have Drexta Ford who works with us. Just one of the many veterans. He was an Air Force CIO at the Air Force for a long time, and he wrote a great blog. I'll put in the comments here about why it's great to hire veterans, especially in cybersecurity. I want to go back to this plane thing, though. Are you? So are you telling me when I drove the Jersey Turnpike and it had that sign that said plane monitoring your speed, and I like that's your fault, your family's fault?
Well, I think you could position it as saying if you ever get pulled over after having been surveilled from an airplane, you can probably thank/blame me. Yeah, that is technically true. Yes.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Yeah.
All right, we should at this point get to what
Why
do they
we're
call
here?
it? Oh, security. Yeah. So we had an election. We won't talk about the outcome, but we will talk about that you'd predicted ransomware attacks
Yes.
on counties. Counting's almost over. Can we say you were wrong?
Well, so yes and no. I think we haven't seen this epidemic of ransomware, against counties, but there are a few examples. One county in particular, Chatham County in North Carolina, they were hit by ransomware on October 29th. That did not affect early voting, and even better, it did not affect 911 operations. Right, counties do operate 911 emergency networks. North Carolina has been called now, and I have to think that if it had gone the other way, right, so Trump won by about 1.5%, that the issue would have been used to call the results into question, right? You guys got snarled by ransomware. How can we trust, whether or not there was an impact?
Or if it had been closer. I mean, regardless.
Or if it had been closer, right.
Right.
That kind of opportunistic claim is what we keep seeing. Any reason will be used, to throw things into question. So I think we got off lucky, and I think CISA actually did a very good job in monitoring and sharing information. And by the way, as of November 6th, Chatham County is still down and using mobile hotspots to conduct business.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Oh man,
that's how bad they got smacked.
Oh. Was it Ryuk, the same one that hitting hospitals? Do you know?
I believe so. I would have to go back and check. There are so many weird names we throw around, I get confused.
Wizard, spider wizard.
Yeah.
The attacks against hospitals, though, seem to have slowed after that initial little explosion there. Was that anticipated? What's going on?
Well, it's still happening, but I think the spotlight that came out in the involvement of the FBI, Department of Defense, Microsoft, that did seem to tamp down the epidemic, if I can use that term, nature of the ransomware attacks against the health sector. There's a few stories this week as well on how the health sector is doing a deep dive into who really needs to use email and whether that email needs to be anything but internal. And that's a good call. We talked to Michael Nixon a few weeks ago, and these were some of the ideas he was using. And apparently, this has become more of a trend in the health sector, right? Do you really need to use email? Again, good call. It's not really clear to me, and it never has been clear, that there is really a profit motivation here, right? Going against hospitals, knocking them down so that you can extort them. The objective to me still seems to be chipping away at the American social fabric and institutions, right? The fact that hospital attacks are less prevalent after the election would tend to support that hypothesis, okay? And let me just sneak this in. I've read that the Russian media are apoplectic about the outcome of the election. I'll just leave that there.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I was going to leave it there.
I'm not going to let you just, toss that out.
I prefer not to speculate in a public forum. How about that? The disinformation is continuing, but I don't think the various nation states are as good at it as, let's just say, our own screaming uncles on Facebook, if I can use that metaphor.
Yeah. Hey, Drex, who I talked about before, I guess I'm pointing that way. Drex, who I talked about before, is commenting here, limiting email and limiting browsers. The hard part is taking something away from somebody who already has it. We actually heard that in a public forum from the CISO of Washington Federal Bank. Said the same thing, is one of the problems with trying to take away email or take away internet, open internet for people is they'll find a way.
Well, and that's kind of true all the time. And if they find a way, even if you implement a policy of no personal access, right, and you continue to, the first time somebody gets popped because they didn't pay enough attention to a Gmail message, the first public hanging is going to really resonate in people's minds.
Yeah, well, and then one thing you say a lot is they do have a way. It's their phones. Do your personal stuff on your phone. So yeah, I mean,
and we are way past getting to that point. And all this gnashing of teeth about, well, we'll be taking something away from someone that they've always been used to, or if you're in the public sector, we have to negotiate with labor on that. You know what? This is the way it works. I am a risk advisor, and I'm telling you that conditions are such that we need to stop allowing this. And because everybody has a personal device, we can push it to there. And if they say, no, we're not going to do that because we can't take this away from our users who have come to expect it, I would say, great. Here's the risk waiver. You're going to sign this now because I've given you my recommendation and you decided you're not going to accept it. So you now own this risk. And that sphincter tightening that happens has a tendency to push things in the direction that you want.
You can't say sphincter on LinkedIn, Mike.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't. Now we're going to see what the LinkedIn police do. You said the word. Oh, man. Hey, speaking of something you said earlier, Russia. It appears, depending on who you trust, that there will be a new administration starting in January.
Yes.
I joined that other social media app, Parler, and on there, looks like you're not going to have a new president. Most other mainstream media platforms, we will. So assuming Biden becomes president, what do you think is going to change?
Well, we have to get there first, but I think I'm confident that we will. It is a dangerous time right now. Especially because the Russian precedent is pretty cornered. Everyone knows what happened in 2016, and everyone knows what's happened since, and there is going to be hell to pay. Can I say hell on LinkedIn? Probably.
You can, but you can't say sphincter.
Okay. So, Putin knows this, and that makes him a very dangerous man right now. But with respect to how things will change, I've read that the Biden administration incoming will keep the good ideas and policies that have come out of the current administration, like this business about defend forward and how the Department of Defense is identifying actors and smacking them before they smack us. That is actually a good idea. And as long as we continue, the quote that I've read is that he would marry a high degree of continuity with a lot smoother implementation. So that sounds like win-win to me. He also wants to shift resources away from legacy systems like howitzers and focus on cyberspace, autonomous systems, and AI. Okay, so, getting our military into the robotic future, what could possibly go wrong? Right now, there are robot tanks being used on battlefields, and countries are increasingly using drones to do their bombing. So I'm glad the focus is changing, and at the same time, I'm pretty sure we're headed towards Skynet.
Does that mean that Arnold Schwarzenegger comes back to be our savior?
Yeah, he will continue to come back long after Arnold Schwarzenegger, the real human, is actually gone, because it's a Terminator.
All right, Mike, what other events this week do you want to talk about?
So let's see, give you a couple of rapid fires here. Sonar Cube. So apparently a whole bunch of source code, intellectual property has been ripped off through this Sonar Cube, which is a SaaS application or web app for source code development and testing. And vulnerability has been exploited by apparently a bunch of countries to steal a whole lot of intellectual property from American companies, their source code. What else? There's a Linux and IoT worm that's taken over lots of stuff that was poorly deployed. Don't leave the default password on that camera. The outcome is predictable. There's a warning out to let people know that ransomware operators probably won't delete the data that they stole if you pay them, because apparently people need to be told this. Okay, here's the official communication: don't believe the criminals. All that happened this week.
Oh, good. Last week we talked a lot about privacy, and you've said it's driving a lot of regulatory activity right now, and people really need to be paying attention. What should they be looking at?
So one election results, the CPRA, the California Privacy Rights Act, passed in California like everybody knew it was going to. And so that means we're going to change the way that we adjudicate the creepy tracking. There are going to be changes to how corporations handle opt-in. And if your practices aren't up to spec, the fines are astronomical, right? And remember, this was through the initiative process, not through legislation. And there are safeguards in there against legislators pulling back on privacy restrictions. So, this is serious business. More importantly, this may be the driver that gets Congress to step up to the issue and help us avoid 50 separate state privacy laws, which would be a mess, right? We have 50 data breach laws for all the states because federal government never got involved and gave us a one size fits all law. So now you got to sort your way through all that stuff. The same thing is liable to happen with privacy laws if the FedGov doesn't get involved. So that's going to be a big change for privacy. It turns out Lexisnexis was selling DMV data that they've collected to private investigators and other unsavory individuals, and has been ordered to pay $5 million in a class action settlement for this transgression. That's not even the big privacy lawsuit news of the week. Zoom, having been found out to have been untruthful about the use of end-to-end encryption, is also on the receiving end of something like this. And it's the Federal Trade Commission's big stick. I'm not sure what the magnitude of the fine is, but it is or will be significant. They had white papers specifically talking about end-to-end encryption to be compliant with health sector requirements, HIPAA, right? And for lying about that, they're going to be beaten with that big stick. What else in privacy? Ring doorbells. The video collected by Ring doorbells being used by law enforcement in Mississippi. I think it's Mississippi to surveil, and they apparently catch fire.
And to be clear on the Ring doorbells, if you do have a Ring 2 doorbell you bought this year, you need to right now go read about the recall so that the front of your house does not catch fire. All right.
Yeah.
So was that supposed to be your kicker? Was that supposed to be the funny thing?
Not a chance. The best story of the week is about the hotline set up by the Trump campaign to solicit voter fraud stories. Okay. Apparently, there are some lessons that were never learned since the last time, the K-pop fans flooded a site with fake requests for tickets to Trump events. Now it's all fake reports of voter fraud that are hysterically unbelievable, and they have to have this person on the end of the line who's very serious about taking this information. I won't share any details, but if you just watch the TikTok videos that are on Twitter and all over the place of people making these phone reports, it will brighten your day.
Awesome. Can't wait. Yeah, it's funny, Mike, we're now doing this live on LinkedIn and YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll do TikTok next. Do you think, does Mike have to dab to make this work on TikTok?
I don't even know what that cultural reference is, so I'm gonna say no.
Well, I hope that other people do. Man, well, I did find out recently my dad had not seen Star Wars, so
Really?
I guess we all have our different cultural references, right?
Did you correct that?
Yes, my children did. My children were mortified that their grandfather had not seen Star Wars, so I fixed that. Yes, indeed.
Well, make them sit through The Mandalorian.
Mandalorian's great.
I think so too.
Oh, I think it's the best show on TV.
Mm-hmm. Now season 2 is out. I'm all over this. Yeah, okay, I'll pay you, Disney, but only for this.
There's a way around that, I'll tell you, but not live on LinkedIn. Nope. I do want to call out Drex for one of his comments on the side there. One of the things Drex said when we were talking about Schwarzenegger was, "It's not a tumor," and I have to say, for a really unredeeming movie, Kindergarten Cop, that was a great line. Anyway, all right, everybody, have a good day. I hope for you it is also not a tumor. And see you next week.
I'd say I'd see you next week, but that's not really how this works. They're going to see us. We're not going to see them.
Oh, that's a good point. All right, goodbye.